most dedicated subject matter experts in the entire Quad Cities to form a coalition and an effort and a collaborative understanding of how we address what is, without question, the most pressing challenge of the United States, and I would dare say in the Quad Cities, which is housing instability. We believe that our efforts have allowed us to confront the challenge, and the truth is that the confrontation is one that always has its challenges. But James Baldwin once said that not everything that is confronted will change, but nothing will change until it's first confronted. And so our effort is to make sure we're doing our best to address the housing instability. This is, in fact, our mid-season review of a 12-week operation. And so we always want to have at the center of this an effort to look at the facts, to be able to disclose the data, to be able to show you, the public at large, the effort that is sometimes behind the scenes we want to make to the forefront now. We have gone from the operation that is generally known as the Winter Overflow Shelter, low barrier, for the season of December 1st to all the way to April 15th. Until now, we have adjusted and expanded that to include much more of an effort to go beyond the overnight stay, to be able to provide an entire ecosystem of services that wrap around the individuals that we call guests and residents. And so this is a public-private partnership, and it just so happens to be located at Bridgepoint 485 in the wonderful city of Moline. That means that when we say it's a wraparound of additional services, we're talking catered meals, transportation, warming center, shelter with showers and meal times as partners, mental health provision, housing, stability and wraparound services, volunteers, and coordinated supports. And so we are halfway through that season now. The numbers are apparent that there are some challenges that are happening in the region. You will hear how those numbers from last year have accelerated. The challenges in the context wherein we operate require that we continue this type of communication, cooperation, and a regional collaborative work. You will hear from the subject matter experts. They will give you their vantage viewpoint and their understandings of their great efforts, how they've employed great commitments to come alongside. It is true that Project Now operates this shelter. We are, by mission, meant to be out front. We will always do our best to do that. But we are not, by mission, meant to be alone. Our commitment has always been to amass maximum feasible participation, meaning that we all find a place alongside of each other, and we work at these things together. I want you, as you prepare to hear the subject matter experts come, to be able to prepare some questions that you may have at the end. We'll be happy to answer as many as we can in the time that's allotted. But the first speaker is Ron Lund. He's our operations chief here. And Ron will present the data, the disparities as well. He'll show you the distance from what we ran last year and where we are today. The numbers are apparent that we have our hands full. But I'm thankful that operations and the teams that help to facilitate the care and concern when people come here have the support of Ron. Would you help me to welcome Ron Lund?
Thank you, Dwight. And let me caveat this very quickly. This information is through March 10th. It is not through today. So with that being said, we have provided so far through this shelter here located at Bridgepoint 485, as well as the hotel model system, 3,248 nights shelter. And I do want to point out during that period, the average low temperature has been 22 degrees. So that's very important, very much life-threatening. So our max occupancy at this shelter is 60. We have averaged 49 per night in this building, as well as an additional 17 in hotels. The shelter is built or set up to house 45 men and 15 women at any given time. And to date, we've had 230 unduplicated individuals. In our entire 12 weeks last year, we had 180. So we have already increased that by 50 in half the time. That has been broken down to 166 men and 64 females. And our previous night's stay, 72% of these individuals are from Illinois. What we learned last year was some organizations, some municipalities would routinely say, these aren't our homeless, they're not our people. Let me tell you where these individuals slept the night before they came into this building. We had 2 in Bettendorf, 2 in Chicago, 2 in Clinton, 58 in Davenport, 5 in East Moline, 2 in Hampton, 2 in Joliet, 5 in Milan, 55 here in Moline, 91 in Rock Island, 2 individuals that slept in Scott County but outside of a municipality's jurisdiction, and 4 from Silvis. These are all our homeless individuals. So our ages, we had 7 under the age of 5, with the youngest being 2 months of age. 2 between the ages of 5 and 12, 3 between the ages of 13 and 17, 17 between 18 and 24, 46 between 25 and 34, 67 between 35 and 44, 39 between 45 and 54, and 33 between 55 and 64, and then 16 senior citizens, 65 plus. Our oldest individual that has spent a night in the shelter has been 81 years old. Our physical mental health conditions, and again, clients can be in multiple categories here. 96 individuals have a mental health disorder. 42 identified as substance abuse disorder. 41 with a chronic health disorder. 23 with a developmental disorder. And 39 with a physical disorder. 32% of the individuals that have come through these doors are survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, and or human trafficking. We are excited to report, and you will hear more about this later, that to date we have housed 20 individuals. That is across 11 households, and it is 13 adults and 7 children.
Thank you, Ron. When you hear things like 20 people housed, last year's effort in 12 weeks, we housed 14. All 14 of them remain housed to this day. And to be at halfway, and we already have housed 20 of them. And that's why I indicated early on in the conversation or the disclosure of what our intents were, that the shelter reality of how do we secure and save a life is the first thing. But as many as we possibly can, we do our work to help move them up and out. And so sometimes that requires some case management, some additional supports, securing of benefits that the resident or the guest already has in the pipeline, and with a lot of good case managers working hard and working with the shelter to have a deep understanding of who they are and what they have at their disposal for support. We do our best to move people up and out. With that said, we talk about support. Many of you watched on the news or followed us up close and personal as we were looking for a home after the ordinance that prevented an opportunity in an adjacent city where we were able to operate last year. It put us in a tailspin, and we had to really push and find. We started conversations throughout the Quad City, Illinois side on a regular basis. But we had one partner that was able to find a pathway forward with us, in which we are deeply appreciative. The city of Moline pulled out all stops. They supported us not just with words, but also with public works and others who rallied around to make sure this building could get up to code and pass, and working through with the fire marshal and other partners. We had to clear some things before we could open up. And with a lot of hard work from the support of the city council, the mayor and her administration, the city administrator, and all those that are staffers, we deeply appreciate that. For a reflection on the partnership thus far, we would like to bring Bob Vitas up. He's the city administrator for the city of Moline. Would you help me to welcome?
Dwight's always a hard act to follow. He's an eloquent speaker, isn't he?
Thank you, Grace.
You are. You are. We come to a juncture halfway down the road. That's where we find ourselves. And the numbers are eye-opening, right? When we started this discussion as the winter was approaching, we knew that it was going to be a problematic winter. We knew it was going to be a very frigid winter. And we all could admit to that. When you see your heat bills, obviously you know that it was a tough winter for everybody in the Quad Cities, let alone the Midwest. But, you know, as we look at collaboration, Dwight's mentioned collaboration. That's what this took. It took a collaborative effort. It took a mayor and a council that was willing to accept the responsibility of having a shelter in this community, which, as KJ would tell you, when she started in this business a few years ago, we'll be polite, that there would be no shelter in this city, right? There would be no shelter in Moline. But times changed, needs changed, economics changed, and we came together with Project Now as a partner in ways to try and collaborate to make this work. There were others, Metrolink, of course, right? Unity Point was there. You know, Christian Care, who's been around over 100 years providing shelter, and other facilities for people on both sides of the river, you know, and then the third place, opening up its doors during the daytime. So what you saw is you saw kind of a miniature city come together in an abandoned building that the city bought to one day turn into a magnificent waterfront park. Where we're sitting right now, one day will be an outdoor park. And years from now, people will forget what we did here this year. But they won't forget the fact that we continue to have discussions about a permanent solution. And that's what the mayor and I and the council and KJ and the CED department, that's what we're talking about. Those discussions have started. We've had discussions with Rock Island County, both with Mr. Brunk as well as Mr. Grafton. We've had discussions with Mr. Roker in East Moline and Mr. Leibovitz in Silvis, as well as Todd Thompson in Rock Island. So we have begun our discussions about finding a permanent solution on the Illinois side of the river. And that solution is going to take a collaborative effort of all the parties, whether it's transportation and moving people, giving them the ability to move about the city and have that freedom we all enjoy, or whether it's having a roof over their heads at night in a permanent location where there would be shower facilities and the amenities that you need to survive, aside from just food. So we are working toward that solution. How soon will we have it? It depends on how soon we get to a final solution. But we're not there yet. So Bridgepoint remains open till April 15th. Those numbers will probably just continue to go up. I don't expect they're going to stop, not from what I'm seeing. And we're looking forward to April 15th and being able to close out the shelter when we know that the weather has improved. But that's not a permanent solution. That's a winter solution. Because all these people, all these numbers, where will they go? That's what you have to ask yourself. Where will they go? Will they go, you know, here? Will they want to come here and there'll be nothing open? Will they want to go into the ravines, which has been a problem for a long time? The solution needs to be found. It needs to be found this year. And we need to put something in place coming forward for this winter. Where that is will yet to be determined, but there will be a solution. That much Moline is committed to doing. And I do know that the Chamber is working with a consultant to talk about this on a regional scale. And there's no problem with a regional scale because these numbers tell you these people don't recognize municipal boundaries or state lines. And that's what you have to do. You erase the lines and create one community and find a solution or multiple solutions to address what has been a historic problem that is not getting any smaller, it's actually growing. So with that, I want to thank Project Now and their team, because it was tough to stand this up as quickly as they did, but we did stand it up, and it is functioning. So with that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bob mentioned the idea of regional efforts, and this is in fact a regional commitment. The partners that stand before us have the same mindset that we don't get out of this or get to a place where we reduce the causes of homelessness without a regional mindset. And if we just settle it in one city, then the path of least resistance, as water continues to flow, people just go to the other city. And when we don't address it regionally, then we leave pockets of challenge that will hurt humanity as a whole. And my commitment of using those words of hurting humanity is something that I take seriously. One of the immediate partners that we had when we decided to assume responsibility last year is to find a institution that had enormous capacity and had been around for a while. To be able to work side by side with Christian Care and to have this long-standing relationship, long before we even thought about operating a winter overflow shelter, we have been abiding partners. But to have 110 years of brain trust, lessons learned, capacity building efforts, partners, and for them to lend of themselves to help guide the process when we were getting our legs under us, and to be there in support, even with some of the staff we shared in the early days of last year, and those operations kind of welded us to the side. Frank Rowe, who I have an enormous amount of respect for and deeply appreciative of not just his effort, but all of your staff, your board of directors, understanding what we are attempting to do together and how we have found a way to do something new and something important in our seasons of leadership. Frank Rowe is the Christian Care Executive Director. Would you help me to welcome him as he gives his thoughts?
Good afternoon, everyone. As Dwight said, my name is Frank Rowe, and I'm the Executive Director of Christian Care. For those of you that don't know, Christian Care has 2 homeless shelters, both located in Rock Island, a 42-bed facility for men and a 20-bed facility for women, single women and women with children. So as we are always full in the wintertime when this comes up, it's important that we start to recognize, and you hear today a lot of the word collaboration, and that's the only way we're ever going to succeed in what we do. I do want to thank the City of Moline for their partnership with Project Now and the surrounding nonprofits in an effort to address the regional homeless crisis, and specifically for coming forward to offer a solution for the winter overflow shelter. So I very much appreciate that. As you heard from the Reverend Dr. Ford, the success of Lift Now is very much a collaborative effort. And I and my team appreciate that we have been able to share in making this work. Our small part is offering hot showers in the morning and hot lunches and dinners throughout the day. So for the success of the winter overflow shelter, what we've talked about for the last couple years validates what we've been saying, and that is that when we collectively make this effort to come together without any preconceived ideas and honestly work through everyone's concerns, we can create a safe and successful place for all. Thank you.
Those showers and meals and the care of their staff are part of a larger framework of understanding that we like to say is the reclamation or reclaiming personal dignity or one's humanity. But it is also an opportunity for us to understand what it means to be in community with others as part of our shared humanity. The third place was developing as an idea in our early conversations, and they were in dialogue with us as they were looking for a home. And we kind of know what that feels like. And trying to get an operation off the ground, and you have vision for it, supporters for it, a board, but you need a location. Landscapes where people are welcoming partners in an established ecosystem. And we had that already. So it was our pleasure to open up one of our facilities to allow one of the most innovative initiatives in the region at this time. When you go by the building, you'll see people sometimes exiting or assembling themselves to come in, but when you go into the third place, you'll see a place that dignifies a person's understanding of what it means to be human. We say this with our buildings that we operate. I know the other partners will say the same thing, that you not only dignify people with the services you provide or the way you speak with them and to them, but you also dignify people by the space they have to go into to receive the services. When you go in there, it's uplifting. They have what the people have a desire. And now it is, yes, it is a necessity for some of them to make their way there, but it is also a joy of experience because they know they're going to be greeted as fully human, that they are worthy of investment, they are deserving of friendship, that if nothing else, for the break in the time that they're there, maybe they can laugh, maybe they can embrace a friend, maybe they can have a conversation that's not just about where you're going to sleep tonight, but recall some of the memories that they have. That all happens at the third place. Christy Adamson is with us today. She's going to explain the effort and our partnership. They've been operational, I believe, since October on the ground, but of course, there was a lot of work that went before that. She is the co-founder and director. Would you help me to welcome Christy Addison?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the kind words. I first wanted to express our deep gratitude to Project Now, our partners from day one, and the city of Moline, and this entire coalition of people in front of you today. We are here because all of you recognize that the work being done within these walls each night is a moral necessity. I'll be honest, I had a much more formal presentation ready today. I had facts and statistics ready to go. But after spending this morning at the third place talking with our guests who use the Lift Now shelter, I realized the most important thing I can do today is set aside my own notes and share their voices, something that we often don't do enough of in our community. At the third place, we partner as the daytime anchor for the Lift Now shelter, and we feel very honored to do that. Every day, we see 90 to 120 neighbors, parents, workers, and people navigating homelessness, sometimes for the very first time. When I asked them this morning what this building, what this shelter means to them, they didn't tell me about metrics or outcomes. What they talked about really was dignity. One person told me, I know I can't stay there forever. I know this isn't my permanent home, but when it's 10 degrees out, that cot sure feels like a palace. It is the breathing room, the time I need to finally think about my next steps. Another person said, when you're out there in the wind, in the cold, your whole body stays tight just to keep from shaking. Coming here to the Lift Now shelter was the first time in weeks I felt warm. And finally, amongst a lot of other things, people told me how wonderful the snacks are, and most importantly, how wonderful the staff are. But a gentleman shared with me as well that prior to the Lift Now shelter opening, rather than sleeping at night, he had just spent 3 nights walking, just walking and walking and walking. Everywhere I went, he said the answer was the same. There was no room or there were waiting lists. He said, I was looking for a bridge to get under because I just couldn't walk anymore. When I heard about this place, meaning the Lift Now shelter, I didn't even care if there was a bed. I just needed to stop walking. And those words, I just needed to stop walking, I think those words should stay with us. At the third place, we provide the hub where people can finally stop walking. We offer the things most of us here probably take for granted: a hot cup of coffee, a secure place for their belongings, hygiene supplies, a public phone, public bathroom, use of our Wi-Fi, our mailing address, and most importantly, a community that greets you by name. We provide stability during the day so that they have more strength to face the night. But I have to say this today: we have to look the problem square in the face. Our current system, as Dwight has shared, is not keeping pace with the inflow of people in crisis. Our regional shelter capacity, as we talked about, and our stock of affordable housing is right now stretched to the absolute limit. We at the third place see the human cost of that gap every single day. And as a community, we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We cannot ignore the desperate need for a larger, more robust emergency shelter system, because no one should ever be told that there is no room when it is 10 degrees outside in our Quad City community. But we also cannot allow emergency beds, a temporary solution, to become our only answer. We also must simultaneously push for a dramatic increase in accessible, quality, and affordable housing. Providing a warm place to sit at the third place, we like to say, is how we meet and choose to dignify the person today. Pushing for housing is how we honor their future. This shelter, this building is wonderful, and it's a vital bridge, but that bridge will only work if it's long enough to reach the other side. So let's continue, along with these wonderful partners up here, this work that we're all doing together with some amount of urgency, expanding our capacity to keep people safe tonight, because that's important, while still building permanent solutions that ensure no one in the Quad Cities ever has to look for a bridge to sleep under again. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Well said. A couple things as we prepared for the natural connection to the next speaker. I want to appreciate and show a public appreciation for Chris Downey, who is our shelter director. Thank you and the staff for the sense of care that you provide and the professionalism that our staff works really hard at employing every night. Thank you, I appreciate it. Christy also talked about this idea of how do we keep the bridge connected, how do we make these logical connections that should be established, the narrative and the lived experience of the individual that just felt this incessant reality of having to walk. There's an African proverb that says that the journey has been long and I am exhausted. People are empty, and it's hard for people that are experiencing pure physical and mental exhaustion to find the time to think about next steps when they're forced into survival. Most of us enjoy living. Survival is one step under. They're working to live full lives where they could take advantage of the opportunities that may be before them. When I think about the opportunities, the natural bridge or connecting point is through transportation for most of us. We're able to connect with family, friends, connect with jobs and employment and healthcare, all because of some mode of transportation that allows us to be up close and personal to the opportunity that is before us. I've had a chance to talk with Ben Lemer, who's the managing director for Metrolink, the CEO thereof. His passion for this work of finding a solution through transportation has been enormously appreciated. Every one of our guests have an essential bus pass. But also there's a transportation reality that every morning when we disembark from here, they load up into one of the buses and we make their journey collectively, those that want to go to the warming center, to Third Place, and to Christian Care, and to the other supportive services that they benefit from, headquarters of Project Now. That transportation is so valuable. They don't have to think about how they're going to get to where they need to be in the blistering wind or cold. The transportation is available, and we're allowing, even with the bus passes, for them to exercise a higher level of personal responsibility for their own lives, so they can go where they need to go, even if there isn't a bus on schedule from us at that time. I'm thankful for this partnership, and I cannot express enough in words. Ben, time with us today. Would you help me to welcome Ben Lehman?
All right, thank you, Dwight. Very happy to be here today. You've heard the partnership word thrown about quite a bit, but it is truly my honor and privilege to be here today to highlight the ongoing partnership that we have had throughout this community. Metrolink is often thought of simply as a way to get from one place to wherever you're going and back. But in reality, it's a whole lot more than that. Transit connects people to jobs, to healthcare, to access to food, to education, and just as importantly, to the community resources that help people move forward within their lives. That's exactly what this partnership has been about and will be about moving forward, because I know I can speak for the rest of us, we will never stop. Over the past several months, we have worked closely with my new friend, Dwight, the Project Now team, and other community partners to provide the necessary transportation link for individuals staying at the winter shelter in Moline so they can access the vital daytime services throughout Rock Island County, including in downtown Rock Island, to include all of the partner organizations who I'm sharing the stage with today. So for many individuals experiencing homelessness, transportation can be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, barriers to accessing the support that they need. The shelter might be open at night, but during the day, people still need to access meals, case management, employment support, and other services that really help bring what they are craving most in their lives, and that's stability. Since launching this effort, I'm happy to report, I think it's as of Tuesday, Metrolink has already provided more than 1,000 rides for individuals accessing all of these services that I have mentioned. And that number, I can promise you this, represents far more than just a trip on a bus. It represents people getting connected to all the help they need, people taking steps towards stability, and people being supported by a broader community that truly cares. This effort does reflect the power of partnership. We all play our own essential roles. Together, we are creating a network of support that is a whole lot stronger than any one of us could do all by ourselves. At the end of the day, public transit and Metrolink is about people. It's about making sure that everyone in our community has the opportunity to access the resources they need. And one of my favorite phrases, being a public transportation professional, is my job is to have every customer have a dignified ride. You've heard the word dignity over and over, and that's certainly true to those of us at Metrolink as well. So huge thank you to Project Now and to all the community organizations working hard each and every day to support our most vulnerable neighbors. I'm very humbled and proud to play a very small role in this effort. We are grateful for the overall partnerships that help make a difference. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
To have a serious conversation about what transportation means, and to be able to allow people the independence that they deserve as a part of their human dignity is such a vital role in this effort. You've heard us talk a little bit about the exhaustion that is in the lives of people being unhoused. Whenever a family or individual becomes unhoused, it is trauma-inducing. And the mental health of a person and their care for their own mental health sometimes is unfortunately pushed to the back burner because survival demands that they make it to a new morning. So they may not stay consistent on certain regimens that help them to live to a higher state of their normalcy that is possible. I cannot share with you how important it is to have a mental health provider. Bridget Prince is with us. She's Robert Young Center's lead care coordinator. And this year, we've always enjoyed this wonderful relationship, but this year they're on site. And to have them on site and to be able to work with us and work with those that may have that type of need, to be able to talk to someone and unpack life, to be able to de-escalate, to be able to have conversations about their mental health status or what will it take to have that evaluation. This has been a game changer for the Lift Now Center. Would you please help me to welcome Bridget Prince?
Hi everyone, I am Bridget Prince from Robert Young Center. I just want to state that since the Lift Now shelters opened, we've had care coordinators here for only 8 weekend days. So out of the 12 weeks, just in 8 weekend days, which is 16 hours in total, we've connected here one-on-one with 34 individuals. That's just that instant, here's the resources you need now, here's the numbers, here's the connection, here's where to find me later on. And from those 34, we have actually had 15 continue to follow up with us, which is huge. The bus system helps a lot, helps us get our people. And also partnering with Christian Care, the Third Place Project Now, we've been able to find these clients. We've been able to find them to help nurture that seed, the growing idea of, I do need help. And we've been able to stand there along with them this entire 12 weeks. Got the call right away. So we jumped on board, and like we said, the partnerships have grown, and we're just excited to keep on helping out as much as we can.
Thank you.
Sure.
We have an operation. You saw me look to here. That trailer right outside is headquarters when they come and arrive, and it's fully heated. It allows privacy. As you see, this building allows us to be able to house, but it's not constructed to allow us to have certain types of conversations that are in need of a higher level of privacy. Our final speaker is the lead subject matter expert on moving people up out of the shelter network into stable housing. Kathy Jordan is the Housing Stability and Homeless Prevention Director. And this effort of having the numbers where they are, where we currently stand halfway, is something that I'm doing cartwheels about on the inside. Because I know that the shelter has saved a life, but these housing opportunities now help to secure them for the future. I am elated and appreciative of her leadership. Would you please help me to welcome Kathy Jordan?
Thank you, Dwight. It's my great honor to talk about the amazing work and the collaboration between the Lift Now shelter and my staff, the HSHP. I'm going to kind of condense it for all of us. This work is only possible because of all the collaborative efforts behind me, of all the individuals and the organizations that come together with the intent of understanding that housing is the anchor for all of your life. I believe it's also a gateway to your health care. It takes care of you when you have a safe place to call home. So I'd like to expand a little bit on Ron's numbers that he gracefully gave us of the 20 individuals and 11 households and let you know where they are today because they're not here. So in saying that, the oldest individual that we worked with is 77 years old. The youngest individual is 6 months. And these households represent the demographic of what you and I look like. People that find themselves in a position to where they don't have the resources to find a place to call home. We work very closely with the Illinois Continuum of Care in finding people on the coordinated entry list, which is a place where people begin to understand the immensity. Last week, we had, I believe, 137 households on that list in the Illinois Quad Cities. I wish I could house all 137 households. But of the 11 I want to talk about, 3 of those households found family members, either locally or in other states, and we helped connect them successfully. So they are stably housed. We had one individual who was referred to us from the shelter who needed the Project Now medical respite program. He required an emergent surgery to help him. And while he recovered, we were able to work with him in the rapid rehousing program at Project Now, and he got his keys recently. Wonderful way to recover from surgery. We have 4 households of single parents with children. All of them identify as survivors of domestic violence. All of them found housing with subsidized housing programs in our community. Think of our local housing providers, think of our local housing authorities. That's where we connected these families to. 2 households went to subsidized housing for seniors. One gentleman was 77, one was 69. They have successfully left and now can live out their golden years much, much better. And last but not least, one household was a couple who started here at the emergency shelter for the Lift Now Center, who then worked with our program, but they had not had a residence in over a year. They actually had a tent in downtown Rock Island for quite a little bit of time. We were able to work with them through the coordinated entry system and enroll them into a permanent supportive housing program, and they are expecting a child later this year. So now they have a safe place for their family to be. It's an honor and a privilege to stand here to let you know that 11 households is merely a start. We will continue to work with the coordinated entry system as well as people, even if they leave the shelter, to try to find them housing options, because the work doesn't stop because the shelter closes. It's simply another gateway to continue to meet people's needs. Thank you.
Well, you've heard from all of the subject matter experts the great effort that is collaborative in nature and what we are attempting to do alongside of each other. It is true that we can get more done and accomplish more working with each other than we could ever do separate and apart from each other. The only way out of the challenge that is before us is to find a way to take another step, coordinated, standing side by side, never going backward, always forward. Our sincere hope, and you ask what's next? Well, that's a great question. We're going to continue to do the great work of these regional efforts, the eviction diversion program in the 14th Judicial Court Circuit that allows judges, Perry State Legal Services, Rock Island County Bar Association, John Deere attorneys, retired judges and volunteers, and the Rock Island Public Housing Authority, along with the community home partners, to really take a look at how do we secure people. And that first hearing is sent to us. So the judge assigns everyone going to eviction court. They're sent right to Project Now, to Perry State, and there we work through and have a mediation process with the property owner. That is to protect the stock that is on the inventory list now, but it's also to protect the family so we don't dump another set of individuals already into a growing mass of people that we don't have enough housing for. We also have been working with Rock Island County townships. They have been providing as much as they can in emergency funding and to be able to support. We also remain hopeful with the idea that the Quad City region will do more with shelter in place. I still believe that it is unconscionable to think that a person that would have to cross 4 cities trying to get to one to be able to live and survive a brutal winter night. That doesn't make sense to me. We can think about this differently. So every city doesn't have to do the same thing, but maybe it's a warming center to begin with. Maybe it's a smaller shelter of 20 people could be there. You hear the numbers, you see where people come from. That dispels the misinformation and misnomers about where people are coming, because we've heard the horror stories. They're all coming from these big cities down here. No, they're not. They're coming from right here in the backyard. And it takes a person with, or an effort with maturity to look at themselves in the mirror and make adjustments rather than the immature state of looking at themselves in the mirror and realize that I'm good to myself and walk out that door without making adjustments. We want to present ourselves much better, and we want to be able to have a network that actually works. To the street outreach teams that are out there, Christian Care and Project Now, and others that are doing this work on the Iowa side with humility, intensive case management and partnership with our continuums of care. The Northwest Continuum is a dear partner to us. Affordable rental property and the opportunities that we have with our own housing stock, landlords in partnership, regional efforts with the Quad City Housing Council, our specialized housing efforts with Del Acerta Housing that allows us to house individuals and families living with AIDS or HIV. The medical respite house, so that when a person is experiencing homelessness, that after their procedure they can come to a place where their stitches can heal appropriately, or the medication could be monitored, or their injury could have the time it's needed to fully recuperate before having to come back out and find a place under a bridge or between two buildings or underneath a parked car. And so our commitment is to find more housing. We have the reentry opportunity for those who are coming out of incarceration. Many times they're barred from housing, and only clothes that they have is Department of Corrections, and they're walking these streets, and that does nothing for our public safety nor their personal dignity and their humanity after serving the time that they were obligated to serve. And then there's Argros House and others that we're partnering with to ensure that women survivors of rape, molestation, and incest and their children are not just thrown out of a house without care and concern and living their best inside of a small car parked on a Walmart parking lot where they believe they'll be safe and almost freezing to death trying to preserve the little gas that they have so that they can send their kids to school sitting next to ours. Something has to change about that. And I believe these are the first marks of what it means to not just have a shelter, but that is the first step on a continuum of opportunity that for some will end up even in home ownership, lest we have a bigotry that believes that they are not capable and competent to one day to be able to have what some of us are enjoying today. Our goal is to take the lid off, to allow them to dream in full color, to support them where they are, to do what we can, so that we're attempting to just make of this world something new, that we'll make of the Quad Cities something new. Thank you. Your questions to the subject matter experts, they're willing and ready to receive any questions you may have. Yes, sir.
Mr. Rowe, you mentioned total beds. Can you run that by me again?
Yes, so our men's shelter, 42 beds. The women's shelter is for single women or women with children, and we can house 20 beds there.
Wait, for single women, 20?
20.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Others, please. Yes, sir.
If they're not going, I'll go. I have a general question about, I'm wondering about, and maybe this is for the city of Moline, maybe not, I'm not sure who's for, but
Sure.
I'm wondering about community reaction in the community in downtown Rock Island. Some shock, from the Lift Now efforts last year.
Mhm.
What has been the reaction now, and what are you hearing out of Rock Island now that there's the third place? Are there fewer instances that the city is complaining about or worried about, or business owners? What is do you have a general idea of that?
I'll allow the city of Moline and Bob to respond to the questions that are much more personal to the residency and the citizenry that he has a responsibility to serve as well. I'll speak somewhat toward Rock Island and then also what it means to be able to have this location. What this is now is lessons learned from last year. Every effort allows us to recast vision of what are the possibilities of doing things differently to enhance the individuals that we serve. Unlike some efforts, this effort focuses on the people we care for and are serving. And so they are centered in this. whereas some are centering other realities, and I have no disagreement or disappointment in how they approach this, but we center those individuals and families. Their lives are our concern. And then we'll manage the rest in the reality that we must face. Everyone has an ideal, but we live in the real. And people can't be controlled. We do our best in all of these efforts, but our goal is to build into the environment capacities and supports to allow them to take more ownership of the realities that are theirs. But when a person has been knocked down flat to the ground, it takes much more to get a family or individual up. Then you have to deal with all the traumas. Then you have to deal with the fact that some may not have had the consistency of dealing with mental health realities. Some have been self-medicating with narcotics, and that's a reality as well. The low barrier shelter allows for all those individuals to be able to keep coming so they have a hope of sobriety. But we start where we are with folks. We do what we can and we use what we have. Now, as it pertains to the city of Rock Island, we have not been in as much conversation. I will say I'm deeply appreciative of the opportunity that we stood up the operation in the brutal winter for 3 days straight. And that was a collaborative effort between the council, our agency, and coming together to do what is important to center those individuals. While we are people-centered, we're also data-driven. We know that if we don't have adequate transportation moving people, at times those populations will spill out into the community. We also know that if we don't have weekend operation, which is a new linchpin that we put in, so now the individuals don't even have to leave this location unless they're doing it on their own reconnaissance just to get a breath of fresh air to walk. But they could stay Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We run full operation. Meals are brought here. Those are lessons learned, not to essentially just keep them out of the public's eye.
Right.
But it is to that we will preserve their human dignity, that we would also find new ways to solve the challenges that are before us. We need as many partners in this as possible. And so from our vantage point, Rock Island hasn't communicated whether higher or lower emergency calls. I know, but I absolutely know that the number of calls that they were receiving last year happened most likely on the weekends where nonprofits and our support network wasn't available to serve. And so we try to mitigate that now. Bob, I'm happy to share this time with you and any of the questions that they may have for the city of Moline.
Did you have a question beyond
Yeah,
that
I mean,
response?
the same thing, as a city, how do you find, is there any kind of burden in terms of like needed police response or emergency stuff, you know? What kind of footprint is this effort leaving?
I would just say that's not out of the ordinary.
Right.
Whether it's the individuals who are sheltering here, or whether it's people living in Fruitland or living over, in Moline, it doesn't matter. I mean, a response by public safety is a response. And we treat this no differently than we would treat any other part of the city. They are residents of Moline when they're here in this shelter, or whether they're not, because we also have mutual aid between all of the cities. I mean, there were some incidents. I'm not gonna kid about that. There were some early incidents early on, as people were adjusting and adapting to the location, and things did happen, but those things were handled properly, and those problems dissipated. And it's been extremely quiet. It was only during the first week that we went through kind of some transitional pains.
Sure.
But as it stands today, it's been very quiet. It's been very, very well run, and really not even getting complaints from our downtown businesses to my office. And the mayor, if she was getting them, she would convey them to me, but we're not.
I want to sharpen down just a little bit with you. Thank you, by the way. I want to know, you mentioned, what kind of referrals in specific terms, what kind of agencies, like, what are people transitioning to? Can you kind of explain that to me?
Yeah, it's
in
all of
more
them.
detail?
All of
So
them.
what does that mean, all of
Yep,
them?
all of my care coordinators, we come, we meet people where they're at, we go to their homes if that's most comfortable, we're here on the weekend, trying to get them to engage in whatever they need first. We want everyone to be connected to mental health resources, of course we do, but we also know there's a lot of barriers to that. You're not worried about getting your mental health medication if you don't have a roof over your head, if you have no way to get there. So my care coordination team, what we do is we try to eliminate those barriers first, so we can hopefully get you ready to get to that point of accepting that help. So we partner, like I said, finding people down the third place, Christian care, getting people connected to the different housing resources through Project Now, which I've learned a lot about recently. So just working with whatever is most needed at that time for that individual. A lot.
Can I throw a hard one at you?
Metro
Lake?
right at you, sir.
If I can ask, I think
Hard ones go to Bob.
obviously an amazing effort that I think a lot of people don't know about and surely needs to be mentioned prominently in the stories, transportation efforts. I'm wondering about the benches at the Metrolink hub in Rock Island. Could those ever come back? There's nowhere to sit.
Yeah, I mean, we are always evaluating the, waiting environment for customers, benches, signage, shade, all of the, things that customers are looking for, and we're certainly looking at the bench. Bringing back benches or more bench, sitting opportunities throughout our whole network.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for those, kind of the litany of questions. It is through the questions that we establish transparency. And transparency is always the gateway to trust. This effort can be trusted. We don't hide anything. We've never tried to portray this work as being rose-colored in lens. This is not easy work. Anybody that is on these streets and it's negative 20 degrees, they have an extenuating set of challenges that did not start overnight. And to journey with people over a period of time is what these efforts really do. To be able to acknowledge that there are going to be touch points where there's going to be friction in any new established relationship or effort. The fact when you hear the city administrator say, we respond to all of our challenges. He didn't exacerbate it. He didn't make it seem like the people that happen to be residents here are public enemy number one. He didn't make it seem as if these folks are a problem, which our efforts realize on the fore. People are not our problem. Systems are. And people do have very real problems. This work is not easy, it's necessary. And the maturity of any effort doesn't run from its challenges. It plants its feet, squares its shoulders, and looks forward. Answers the hard questions, does what is necessary, repair from relationships that may be fractured or injured, and we take another step. This is right and good, not just for the moral fabric of our Quad Cities, which is primary for a person like me, but it's also good for business. It's also good for the environment. It's also good for recreation. If we're able to house people at the level that the need has continued to multiply, then we will have a city that regardless of where we go in the world, we will be proud to have made a departure from, because we actually care about people.
Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Did you get a photo? So we want, you have a photo of everyone.
there we go.
We'll send a
Photo
thank
crazy
you.
back there.